Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and I don't always reveal who my next guest is going to be on the show, but many of you already know who today's guest is going to be because I shared a little bit about her on yesterday's episode when I realized that I had 3 interviews in a row planned with moms who are also marathoners. So today's guest just completed her first marathon and has been a mom for a while, and the other 2 marathon moms have been running marathons for a while, with Tuesday's guest actually being elite marathoner Tina Muir, who just recently had her first daughter. So lots of inspiration. I hope you'll check out those previous interviews, but I'm really excited to share more about today's guest, Lori, with you. Lori Richmond is a corporate creative director turned picture bookmaker. She's the author-illustrator of Pax in Blue, which was called a sprightly debut by the New York Times and selected for exhibition in the Society of Illustrators Original Art Show. She's also the author-illustrator of Bunny's Staycation and the illustrator of several other picture books. Lori is also the creator of the popular running-inspired drawing series View from My Run, which was featured by Runner's World and the New York Road Runners. Before her career in children's publishing, Lori was a sought-after expert on all things baby and parenting as a contributing editor to leading pregnancy and parenting brand The Bump. She has appeared on Today, Good Morning America, CNN, and more. Lori, welcome to the Fit 15. I'm honored to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
So we connected just because I was scrolling through Instagram as one does, right? And I found your View from My Run series and just really loved that. But I'm really excited because we connected a while ago and now you've since become an official marathoner. So I don't know if you want to start us off talking about that experience at all, and then talking about the other journey that you've been going on.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about their marathon, right?
Right.
So since you asked, of course, I'll tell you about my marathon. So I did. I ran my first full marathon, the New York City Marathon on this past November 4th. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it really couldn't have gone any better. And I don't necessarily mean that from like a time perspective, because I didn't have a time goal for my first time, but the weather was just picture perfect, as if you could order the weather that you want. I mean, that's what we got. It was clear skies, beautiful sun, great for spectators. There were tons of spectators out. Friends of mine that have done the run many times said that in, all the times that they've been at the marathon, they think that this was by far the most spectators they had seen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there was just such great energy, and my family was there. My kids were there, holding up crazy signs that looked like my face, and like everything was just great. And I felt really good. I think miles 19 through 23 were probably the toughest, but sure. I think that's the case for most people. But yeah, once I hit Central Park, I was like, this is a great party. Like, let's party to the finish line. And so, it was great. I really can't, I'm so thankful to have had that experience for my first marathon, because now I'm definitely doing it again.
Awesome.
Yeah. And now I'm such an evangelist for everyone to run a marathon. I'm like, oh, you've only done a 5K? That's totally cool. You can definitely do a marathon.
Right. It's hard. Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, it's definitely a challenge, but I feel it's just so empowering because you look at, or at least this is my experience, you look at your, training schedule, you're like, how will I ever be able to run, 16 miles, let alone, 20. And then just week by week, you're able to do it. And, kind of relates to other areas of your life too. Not to sound cheesy, but.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, when I went to or recently my father-in-law came to visit us, and we played tourist, for the weekend, and we brought him to the top of the World Trade Center. And I had never been up to the top of the new building. And that's when I really feel like the marathon kind of like hit me in the face, because I was looking at this, altitude in the building. I don't even know how many feet up we were, but it was like the 102nd floor, I think. And the Verrazano Bridge looked so far away. And then the Queensboro Bridge, which is mile 15, looked so far away. and you usually don't get to look down on the marathon course. You're either in it or you're seeing a representation of it drawn, on the map that they give you or whatever. But to see it from up there, it was really overwhelming and very emotional for me, because it was like, how did I do that? Like, how does anyone, do that? Again, just felt like overwhelming gratitude that I could do it.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, I did. And you have a picture of that on your Instagram, so people should definitely go and check that out.
I do. Yep.
That's cool. I mean, for me, my first one was just in Massachusetts, and I'm sure maybe there's a view somewhere that you could probably see the full route. But I just remember looking at the map they gave you and thinking, wow, this is pretty far when they don't have all the side streets marked on the map anymore.
Right. I think too. And, very often those maps are not to scale. It's just what they can fit, on the paper they're printing on or whatever. And so, yeah, it's anytime you get that unique vantage point, it's just like, wow, a reminder of what a huge accomplishment it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited for you that you've, been able to accomplish that and have such a good first race, because you never know. I mean, people have horror stories about their first marathon. So
yeah, I've had some bad half marathons, but that never stopped me from doing another one. If anything, I think the bad races make you feel more like a badass when you're able to get past it and then get out of the bad experience and look back and think like, wow, it sucked, but I still did it.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. Not so happy in the middle of it, but
no, definitely not.
Always good lessons to have. Awesome. Well, so do you want to share with us a little bit about your running journey and then where the drawing series that you have now, View from My Run, came into all that?
Sure. So I started running late in life. I was, the quintessential art kid where I was not athletic at all in school, never had any type of relationships with sports. I was never on a sports team, none of that. Mm-hmm. But I had gone through a career change.
Hi friends, it's Catherine, and if you are joining us and using the episode to get in an out and back walk, but just have 15 minutes, that sound is your halfway point reminder. You'll want to turn around now. All right, back to my conversation with Lori.
I was working an office job and I decided to just change up my life. And I was, 25-ish years into my career at that point. And I decided to, to make a change, and I left my job. I started working for myself, doing illustration and working on children's books. And during that same time period, I turned 39. And when that milestone birthday of, a new decade is right around the corner, I think you always stop and reassess. Like, what did I do in my 30s? What can I do better in my 40s? And for me, physical fitness and wellness was just not anything that was ever a priority. And so at that moment, I decided, all right, I have to do something here. And I started a Couch to 5K program. And that was really kind of what got me hooked into it. It was very manageable. I could do it with my time. I felt that I was able to stay uninjured, and I was really enjoying it. And just being outside and running and stuff was great. And my studio mates, because I work out of a co-working space now, and a bunch of them were signing up for the Brooklyn Half Marathon.
Okay.
So they convinced me to do it with them. And I was like, well, sure, my first road race can be a half marathon and one of the biggest ones in the country. Like, that's cool. I'll do it. And so that was my first road race that I ever signed up for. I did the Couch to 5K, and then I skipped the official 5K and went straight to the half marathon distance. And it was through that training and, putting in all those miles in my neighborhood. I live in Brooklyn, right near the Brooklyn and Manhattan bridges. So I found myself running over the bridges and just like rediscovering the city kind of, that I spend so much time in. I'm raising my kids here, and, you just get so caught up in the day to day, you don't appreciate what you have around you all the time. But running kind of reintroduced me to the city that I see around me all the time. And so while I was out on these training runs, I found myself kind of doing a lot of creative problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew I wanted to work on some kind of side project that wasn't my children's books. I didn't really know what that was going to be yet. But I kind of had it, percolating in the back of my mind as ideas,
Mm-hmm.
do. You kind of have to wait for them to say, hey, it's my turn, so I kind of filed that in the back burner. And one day I was on the Manhattan Bridge and this beautiful sunset was happening behind the Manhattan skyline. And it was one of those Frank Sinatra, I love New York moments. and I stopped in my tracks and I took a photo of it. And I said, you know what, I'm going to paint a watercolor landscape. I haven't done that in ages, it'll be fun. And I just kept going on my run. And I was on my way home at that point, and I was looking down at my watch, and I don't know what happened, but it was one of those lightning strike moments where I realized, well, I could go home and paint this landscape, but then it's just a landscape. But if I try and paint it in the same amount of time that I was out doing this run, then it connects those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very interesting to me. And so I started with that. And I started posting them on Instagram, because who's a better accountability partner than the random people on the internet, right?
Right.
So that's how it started. And so I've been doing it ever since. And now it's sort of become this visual training journal of, of all of the runs that I do. And for a while I had 100% of them up there. And then, life gets in the way, and parenting and marathon training was really intense. So I don't have every single one up there now, but I definitely, I'm still consistent in posting it. And the most recent series I did was from the marathon I just finished. But it's been a really, really fun art project for me. But also, I was able to combine these two things that I love so much, making art and running. And probably the most unexpected thing that came out of it was that it was featured in Runner's World. Mm-hmm. So here I was, this like spazzy athlete, child who got kicked out of gym in the 6th grade because, I couldn't do the physical fitness tests that they were administering. And so, I'm like, I want to go find my 6th grade gym teacher and say, look, I was for my art. So...
No, that's awesome. Well, so now I have to ask, because your main, usually you're not doing View from My Run. Usually you have a career in children's publishing. So I wonder, is there going to be a book that's going to be involving running now for the kids? Or
yeah, I think about that all the time. And I have a stockpile of notes and ideas that I keep in Evernote. That's like one of my favorite apps to use, because you can you're online at the bank. You're like, oh my God, I have an idea. And, I put it in there. So I don't have anything related to running for kids, in a format yet that I feel like it's something that I could pitch or I could, actively work on, but it's definitely sitting there, in the back burner area where the ideas, tend to start sprouting. So I'm hoping that I can turn it into, a narrative that would be inspiring for kids.
I mean, because I wasn't a good artist, but I definitely was also horrible at gym class. So I remember, it's kind of funny that my career has become one in fitness and I've become a big runner. It just seems, it's very ironic. So I kind of relate to the kids that, maybe they're not having a good time in gym class, but maybe one day they could be featured in some, similar, magazine, whether it's Runner's World or something else. You never know.
Yeah. And I think that's so interesting, because I feel like that really tends to happen with kids, with art and with running. You reach a certain age, usually, at least for art, it's somewhere around the ages of, 10 to 12, like right in that kind of tween stage, where they bucket themselves or they're bucketed by someone else to I'm good at this and I'm bad at that. Right. I'm a good artist because I can draw an elephant that looks exactly like an elephant. Or I'm a bad artist because I can't draw an elephant. Yet when you go to an art museum, there's so many different types of art and different types of interpretations of what an elephant looks like. You know what I mean? So I think the same thing happens with fitness too. If you're not good at soccer, then you think, oh, okay, well, I'm bad at all sports. And, then you develop this complicated relationship with these things where you feel like you don't excel. And until, a kid or an adult kind of does it on their own terms, they need help, I think, discovering how to incorporate it into their lives in a way that doesn't make them feel like they're bad at it, to have that positive relationship.
Oh, I love that. Well, you have a few books out, and I know it's kind of that time of year when we're trying to find, good gift ideas. And I don't know if you're going to be doing anything in terms of, sharing or allowing people to purchase your drawings, especially with the marathon. I'm sure people would love that. Like, do you want to share anything about that with the listeners?
Yeah, I was actually just working on a page today.
Okay.
Talking to you, to put those the marathon series up, because I've had a lot of people inquiring about that. But my children's books are available wherever books are sold. So Barnes and Noble, independent booksellers, Amazon. If people just search for my name, they'll come up. The most recent one that I released earlier this year that I both authored and illustrated is called Bunny Staycation. And it's a great story for working parents, especially working parents who have to travel for their jobs. It's about having to kind of leave home and how hard that can be for kids, and then how kids can use their creativity and imagination to get through that difficult time. So very autobiographical, but fun and funny and colorful. And that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, it's a cute book for sure. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to keep following you and, seeing the different views from your run and other children's books that might be coming out. So
thanks. Yeah. And I'll be moving towards New York City Marathon 2019. So I have, 300 and something days left of drawings that I'll do until then.
Nice. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome, Lori. And now, so where is the best place for people listening to connect with you and see your drawings and everything else going on?
Well, my Instagram is Lori Richmond Draws, and my website is loridraws.com, and it's LORI.
Awesome. Super simple.
Yep.
Easy to find. Perfect. Well, anything else you want to share with the listeners before we officially say goodbye?
I would just want to encourage anyone out there who is like me, a former art kid, spaz athlete, that, whether that is visual art or writing or music or any of the arts, think about a way to incorporate it with your athletic practice. I've actually met some interesting people on Instagram who have started to do things like print out their data from Strava and then, do kind of like an illustrated bullet journal on top of it, or, do their own interpretation of how to visualize what they're doing in their training. So, it's such like a personal thing, but I encourage anybody out there who's like me to, just pick up a pen and start doing it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think that's something, being in fitness, it can be hard to find your motivation sometime, but if you can connect it to something that you love or something that you love to do, but you're not able to do because your fitness isn't at that point, then it can really be the game changer. So I love that. So many creative ideas, of course, some creative people, I guess, to add that motivation. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a good time of year too to start, what's going to be my new goal for 2019 or whatever. It's a good time to start a new practice. So I hope everyone is inspired to do that.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Lori, for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hi, friends. It's Catherine. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did recording it and chatting with Lori. If you did enjoy it, I wanted to mention that we had 2 other episodes this week that were with moms who are also marathoners. Yesterday, we had Marathon Mama 11, aka Mary, who quite literally is the Marathon Mama, and I invite you to go back and listen to her episode to find out why I think she's definitely very worthy of that title, that name she has on Instagram. On Tuesday, I had guest Tina Muir, who is an elite marathoner, but just recently became a mom for the first time. So she is super cool, and what's even cooler, I think, is that today's guest Lori and Tuesday's guest Tina actually are connected now because Lori was a guest on Tina's podcast, the Running for Real podcast. So if you want to learn more about Lori and get some insights into her career as a children's illustrator and publisher and author, I recommend going and checking out her episode with Tina, which I will leave a link to in the show notes. So I hope you've enjoyed this week of episodes on the Fit 15. Tomorrow, I have an episode that will be a countdown episode. So the top 5 episodes from this past bunch of 50 episodes. So if you have an episode you really want to see in that top 5, don't forget to share it with your friends before Friday. All right, thanks so much for listening. If you subscribe, I will chat with you tomorrow. Bye.